welcome to Tiny Table Talk for the Challenge All-Stars episode 4. We got quite a bit to go over. I'm going to first touch on the daily challenge from this past week's episode. Then we're going to get into Arissa quitting and everything that's happened on social media since the premiere of episode 4. Then we're going to get into crowning the king and queen of this episode. Then get to comments from my Thursday's review and recap. We got a lot to go over, so let's start off with... Now, this week's daily challenge was called On the Ropes, where everyone was in teams of 5 and they had to race each other on these ropes. Now, looking at this daily challenge, I was like, wow, that's going to be physically difficult just to get through the ropes and running back and forth on them. I didn't think of the rope burn that was going to come from them. And not only that, but I didn't think it was going to be as severe as some of the players were talking about on the aftermath. This was way more difficult and way more taxing than I thought it was going to be. And it just goes to show you that some of these more low-key, like chill, simple daily challenges that we can see can be some of the most taxing and grueling on the body. I mean, my goodness, seeing some of those scars. I don't know who tested out this daily challenge, but maybe they should have told everyone to do the Cyrus and have the long sleeve shirt on, because out of everyone, I felt like he had the best outfit on for this challenge so he wouldn't get absolutely destroyed by these ropes. Now, in this week's episode, we saw the lifesaver be used. The whole house had to do a re-vote on who they wanted to send in against Beth, and Arissa's name came up 8 times. That was enough to send her into the elimination. And before we got to see the elimination, that's when Arissa went off on the house, cussing them out, flipping them off, and then heading out and withdrawing from the game and essentially quitting from the game. Now, to a lot of viewers, that is frustrating to see, but then after that episode had premiered, that's when Arissa went to social media and Twitter to give her side of the story. Arissa takes to do a long Twitter thread, so mind you, I will put the tweets up on the video, but I will read them out loud as well. Why you don't see me a lot is because I am hiding somewhere tending to my rashes to grimace through the stomach pains. In the beginning of the On the Ropes challenge, when TJ is explaining the rules, you can see me bent over, scratching the crap out of my eyes. So in reality, I wasn't isolating myself to be antisocial. I was in pain and had to go to the bar with everyone, even though I had asked multiple times just to stay home and rest. I do not like that at all. I think if you are in a tough time and you are having struggles and asked to stay home, why not just let Arissa stay home and chill and maybe have a producer within the house to make sure she's okay? I don't know why you would force somebody to go to the bar when they're not feeling it whatsoever. She goes on to say, I didn't complain about the pain I was in. All I asked was to be in control of my own food and to have a designated area for the food I was getting so that there could be no confusion, it was mine. That night, after coming back from the bar, someone, and it remains a mystery, literally went to my food with my effing name on it and helped themselves to what was left of the little crap I had. People had been helping themselves to my stuff, so there are times I would go and try to grab a yogurt to eat on the bus only to discover the 7 I had were gone when I had 1 the day before. Not only that, but I would also discover open bread on my cutting boards, also with my name on it. So if I wasn't getting cross-contamination from the caterers, somehow mysteriously my stuff with my name on it would be recklessly used and not even bothered to clean it. So production had to make an announcement to the group to please respect my food and the fact when you just help yourself to my gluten-free food, it takes a minimum of 48 to 72 hours for it to be replaced. I had no idea that it took that long to replace food within the house, but during a pandemic, I can totally see by taking as many precautions as I can because of the shopping protocols for COVID, then having to sterilize it before it was brought into the house, then tape up any non-sponsored brand names before it was given to me. Add that to the fact I was still in the elements, starving and not quitting or hesitating before any challenges. Then we have Alton. Alton, who decided to suggest that I be thrown in against Beth for elimination because it seemed like I wasn't having a good time. Alton, who called the whole cast in quarantine and told them he had my back multiple times. So I got people eating what little food I have, disrespectfully using my stuff. Then we have Alton with his suggestion. Somehow everyone else who was chosen by the person in elimination got a warning their name was being said. Not only did people know Beth wanted me and was pulling them aside to say it, they also said nothing to me about it. In fact, I was actually assured several times that I was safe and not to even worry about it. So add that to my burning fire of rage. Right before we were gonna walk into the elimination, it was Ruthie who pulled me aside and gave me a heads up approximately 1 minute before walking in. So when I say don't F with my money, I specifically meant it for Alton, and they don't show him saying she told me not to F with her money, then whatever the F he said after that. At first, I had every intention to do the elimination against Beth. As I was changing into my uniform, I just started to get these flashes, going to get a yogurt for breakfast on my way out the door, and all my stuff being gone. Mark telling me that Alton suggested me as a replacement for Katie, then the 8 people who said my name, these people who came to me to get fed with either the food I was cooking or my spiritual vibe or Zen, having me use my Palo Santo to cleanse them and the house of the negative vibes. Finally, I figured if Alton was trying to suggest sacrifice me for Beth, yes, I saw the little hug he gave her as they walked away, then the rest of the house knew my strongest alleged alliance did not exist. I didn't want to just box with Beth. I wanted Mark next for telling me I was safe, then using the lifesaver to save someone who didn't even do anything. Alton for even suggesting my name, Darrell for saying my name first, and the other 7 who followed. And at that moment, I knew that after beating Beth in that elimination, I would have to go back in the house with people I felt that charged over. No. So what point is it to still compete? Why put one extra bit of energy into some stuff I knew at that moment I had no chance of winning? For what? Or still put my body through that and lose more weight to be validated by people sitting at home watching this? Like I said earlier, there are so many different variables that come with this experience. I respect the game, but I don't have to respect how it was played. No matter what happened, I can say for each challenge, I never hesitated, never folded, there was no fear. I also volunteered to be a team captain and put myself out there in so many ways people will never fully know. I am not mad at anyone. I have no bad feelings toward anyone for playing the game in the way that was most beneficial to them. I just left Beth and Cyrus. Sure, it was awkward watching me cuss them all out at this stranger's house while his daughter sat next to me, LMAO. And she told me she too chose violence with her comments on the after show, and even though I won't watch it, this episode was more than enough. I get it. She had every right to talk stuff about right back. By the way, I wore Beth's lashes from her company in literally the only confessional video I looked normal in. They are beautiful and lightweight. I love them. I love Mark Long. I supported this project from the start. I knew it would be great, and it is. I still got everything I wanted out of it. All the adventures and testing of my life and limits and all that other stuff that fed my spirit and soul. I have a lot of love for everyone, and I realized that we all had a very unique and at times very difficult experience. It's not as easy to do this stuff as it looks from the outside. So hearing all the backstory that we didn't get to see from the 45-minute episode that was given to us or that was edited down, it makes a lot of sense why Arissa had so much anger towards the house, so much anger towards everyone after being thrown in, and that there was more layers to why she wanted to quit rather than just being thrown into the elimination. That was some of it, but it was also a lot more bubbling underneath the surface that was probably doing that for multiple days and multiple weeks. To hear that she had such dietary restrictions and people were eating her food and how long it took for the food to come in, she probably felt really sick, not only from having to wait on her food, but she may have had to eat food that wasn't necessarily prepared properly or wasn't following her dietary restrictions, and she was probably hurt. And I really feel for her with all the struggles that she went through inside the house, and I think she did make the right decision. And by no means is she backing down from this decision. She is putting her foot down. She is saying that this was the right decision for her, and if it's the right decision for her and she feels like this is the right decision, who are we to say that it's the wrong decision? Now let's crown the king and queen, or the man and woman MVP of this week's episode, and we're going to start off with the king, and of course we're going to go with the man that already has a crown of his own in this episode, and that is going to be Mark Long for using the lifesaver, giving us a peek into its power. He was trying to cut all the deals he could. He was fighting to be captain on his team so he could use it. I'm happy that we as an audience were able to get to see what power it entails and how it may be used come down the line a little bit later on in the season. And now, crowning the queen of this episode, I'm going to give it to Katie. One, for taking control of the situation of the daily challenge. Yes, she bowed out, but she bowed out on her own terms. She decided that she wasn't going to get hurt anymore, and I think she would have gotten hurt way more than she had anticipated if she actually tried and got on those ropes, burned herself, and then think of having her nose get bloody again. And then we move to her volunteering herself to go into the elimination because of that. And then knowing that Mark was going to use the lifesaver on her, I think it was more than likely she thought that Mark was going to use the lifesaver on her. So there was really no worry that she was going to be going into the elimination. So I think it was a great move on Katie socially and strategically for this to happen. So those are my king and queen of episode 4 of All Stars. Now let's get to some comments from my Thursday's review and recap, and we're going to start off from a comment from Zen10, who says, not a major storyline for the episode, but I don't like how Gisela was like, I don't trust Kendall on my team, so she bullied Kendall into being team captain. Why doesn't anyone like Kendall? She's one of my favorite athletic-wise. I think this goes back to episode 2 when Kendall wasn't going to drop into the water on the trivia challenge, and then she didn't own it because in the aftermath from that episode, Gisela and Jemmye were going in on Kendall saying that she plays the victim a lot and she didn't own up to her being scared of possibly going into the water and hurting herself. And so with that, along with Kendall then trying to push the vote on Gisela when she was like, who was the second person to fall into the water, push the vote on her. And I think maybe that was one of the first interactions that Gisela and Kendall had in the challenge. I'm sure they talked a little bit, but there's so many people in the house at first that you can't really form bonds that early. And I think having that to be one of your first interactions with each other, I think it sets a tone and a mood between everybody. And so I think that's what started off this this tension between the two. Alexis comments, Darrell saying that Big Easy looks like an overgrown leprechaun taking a crap on the wire was the highlight of the episode for me. And that edit with John A falling off the rope, oh my goodness, John A, I can't get that out of my brain. She is on the rope, she is scooting across, she is so close to the platform, and even I think one of her teammates is holding out his hand for her, and then all of a sudden she just drops at the last second. Oh my goodness, that was really, really funny, but it was so heartbreaking because they even put the soundtrack underneath her. Ugh. Amelie says, I love how Jemmye mentioned Kendall is the original Barbie Beast because yes, I can see why she made that reference. She is a beast from this past week's daily challenge of On the Ropes and how she took care of the elimination of Not So Fast. She came to play and she is ready to kill it. Next comment comes from Jojo, who says, I'm loving this season, but my only qualm is people keep volunteering for an elimination where there's nothing but survival on the line. Stop volunteering. I want to see these OGs take part in playing dirty, filthy politics. I completely agree. I think we get to see some of it happening in the revote, at least with the lifesaver being used, but I am totally down with everyone saying stop volunteering. I want to see everyone trying to play dirty, trying to push a vote, and then people trying to throw people under the bus. Brenna J. Rock says, I wonder with the lifesaver if it's going to be one of those week things of every week it'll have a different effect. So example, 1 week with the whole house would be a vote for the replacement nom. The next time it's used, the player who uses it gets to pick who they want to go down, etc. It would be really cool if it switched up every week without the players knowing and kept the players on edge on what it would be if they used it. See, I think that would be interesting, but I'm also worried that if it keeps on switching up like that, if they don't know how it's going to be used, then I wonder if people would be too worried to use the power. But I like that thought process. I think that would be very, very interesting if that was the case. Edwin comments about the voting, right? What the heck was Kendall doing? She unnecessarily put out her business. Just jump on the bandwagon. I thought the same thing about Arissa when the vote was tied and she voted for Kellyanne, and it seemed like a burn vote on her, but I know that Arissa's just doing what Arissa wants to do, and she doesn't play by anybody else's rules or worry about what anybody else thinks. But I also thought, like, if you just jump on the bandwagon and throw Kendall's name in the mix, and then possibly there's more on Kendall, more people will start to throw Kendall in, but that wasn't the case at all. Game Boy Adams says, whoa, out of all the quits I've witnessed on reality shows, I've never seen one as explosive and volatile as that one, with the exception of Sue Hawk in Survivor All-Stars. I haven't seen Survivor All-Stars in forever, but I remember that moment vividly from when I saw it on the actual TV in real time. Oh my goodness, that is like such an iconic, like, I'm out of this game, I'm done. The next comment comes from Speaking the Truth 96. The only thing I don't like was Beth talking about Arissa quitting as if she didn't do the same thing before when her team voted her in. I did find the irony in that. Ignacio says, best quitting ever. It was great to hear it without censorship. I don't think it would have played out as well on cable as it did in this moment on a streaming network where it's uncensored. And the last comment comes from Trandy Barnes Jr., who says, unpopular opinion, I think Arissa would have destroyed Beth in that elimination. She was so mad. If she could have channeled it, it would have been games over. P.S. This lifesaver is juicy. They need to bring it into the main challenge season. I agree with you on both of the statements you made in this comment. I do think that Arissa had a great shot of winning, and I also believe that the lifesaver should be brought into the main challenge season. This would have been super spicy, and I think maybe they're trying it out here in the All-Stars and maybe bringing it into a main challenge season. We can only hope. But that is it for Tiny Table Talk for this week. What did you think about this episode? What did you think about hearing the behind the scenes of everything and Arissa's side of the story of why she quit? Does that change your feelings on why she quit? Let me know that in the comment section below. What do you think about everybody's performance? Who are you rooting for heading further into this season? And do you think there's going to be a purge or double elimination happening soon? There's still a lot of players left in this game, and we're still getting towards a final rather quickly because this is only a 9-episode season. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really, really soon with more Challenge All-Star content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.